Okay, we could call the meeting to order. If we could all rise for the Lord's Prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armand Murcia.
Here.
Councilor Rita Murcia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Ramirez.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
9 present.
9 present. First item on the agenda is acceptance of the minutes of the July 11th meeting, regular meeting, and the July 11th special meeting for acceptance. Motion approved by Councilor Armand Murcia, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Any corrections or deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. There is one item under unfinished business in order of taking, eminent domain taking for the Concord River Greenway. This was on the agenda last time and had been delayed until this evening, I believe, because of a technical issue with the vote. What's the wish of the council?
Does this have to be referred to a public hearing?
No.
I just,
Councilor Rita Murcia?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just like to comment on what I have taken in when I read this vote. This is money, there is money to acquire the walkway access, and it'll be coming first from the Mass Highway Fund, and then secondly from the city's Concord River Greenway account, and it's funded partially from the funds from 1095 Westford Street from that sale. So having looked at and got an explanation from the planning department, I move approval of this vote.
Second.
Okay, motion approved. Actually, I need to read the vote first. In order of taking, to take by eminent domain certain parcels of land in the city of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, in furtherance of the Concord River Greenway development. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Donahue. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The full reading is waived. Second reading by title. In order of taking, to take eminent domain certain parcels of land in the city of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, in furtherance of the Concord River Greenway development. There's a motion to approve this order by Councilor Rita Murcia, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. Any further questions? Roll call.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armand Murcia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Murcia.
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Under the city manager's portion of the agenda, there is a communication from the manager, 3 separate items, I believe, for out-of-state travel, 2 from the police department, one, actually there's 4, yeah, 2 from the police department, 1 from the fire department. What's the wish of the council?
Move for
Motion to
approval.
approve by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo. Roll call, please.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armand Murcia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Murcia.
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes. 9 yeas. Those communications are accepted and approved. Next item is a constable bond for 2 individuals, John Bridges and 1 Giarez. This is addressed to the clerk. Please find attached for application for constableship, the current term that began January 3rd, 2005 and terminates January 7, 2008, with my signature submitted by me, the 2 individuals, John Bridges and 1 Giarez. Thank you for attention to this matter. Sincerely, John F. Cox, City Manager. It's the wish of the council.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Rita Murcia, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo. Roll call.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armand Murcia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Murcia.
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes. 9 yeas. Those matters are approved. The next item is an ordinance for the police department for grant-funded positions. An ordinance creating 1 director of victim services full-time, 1 community liaison full-time, 1 project coordinator part-time, and 1 tracking analyst full-time, and establishing the salaries therefore in the police department. This matter is to be referred to a public hearing on August 8th, I believe. So motion is so referred by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor of referring this matter to a public hearing for August 8th, say aye. Any opposed? The matter is so referred.
Mayor.
Mr.
I'm sorry, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager of the law department. When we were discussing unemployment compensation during the budget hearings, I did raise the question that when we do apply, accept, and in fact receive grants, that should those grants expire, we are responsible for the unemployment compensation up to whatever the minimum amount is. Is there a way that we can incorporate that, once these grants expires, the city's not on, we're not responsible for these? Because that could be a significant amount of money. I mean, once the grant expires, it expires, and the city's not responsible for, for funding that, because it's substantial.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council. First of all, the employment would end upon the termination of the grant, and then, like all employees, they would have the right to proceed to collect unemployment compensation. We couldn't, by ordinance, for example, legislate out their rights in that regard.
But are they employees? Are they just grant funded for a certain amount of time? Are they entitled to benefits? Are they entitled to retirement system? Are they entitled to all these? And couldn't we put a provision that that's not the case?
I don't think so. They're employees. They may be grant funded, but they're employees, and the Department of Employment and Training and the laws that speak to benefits to which an employee is entitled, such as unemployment comp, if your employment is terminated through no fault of your own, then I don't believe that we can, by ordinance, even if we put it in there, preclude them from filing and receiving unemployment benefits.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Rita Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that the grant was awarded to the sum of $200,000, and if I look at the 4 positions and I gave them the pay maximum amount, those positions, those total of the 4 positions would amount to $130,000. So what happened to the $70,000 that's remaining? Is that going to their unemployment compensation, their benefits, or what? Where are we with the $70,000?
Thank you, Councilor. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Councilor, the other budgeted items included in this grant include training, equipment for new staff, computers, something called the LEAPS hookup, which is expensive. It's an access to the state confidential computer system, and certain supplies for the office. So all of that money, this is support money to support that staff, so that the city won't have to buy any of those items for them.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing that you should know is that the Office of Violence Against Women has indicated that we have a strong possibility of getting funding for a second year for this grant. So we'll get 2 years most likely out of this proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Roll call.
Mayor Martin,
Oh, actually, this is referred to a public hearing. Right. Sorry, right? Public hearing on August 8th. We already voted that, I believe. The next item is an order to dedicate Stevens Street and D Street as the Robert Lemire Memorial. An order designating the intersection of Stevens Street and D Street in the city of Lowell, the Robert Lemire Memorial in honor of Robert Lemire, whereas the city is desirous of honoring Robert Lemire. Now, therefore, it is ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell that the intersection of Stevens Street and D Street in the City of Lowell is hereby designated the Robert Lemire Memorial in honor of Robert Lemire. Second reading by title, an order designating the intersection of Stevens Street and D Street in the City of Lowell, Robert Lemire Memorial in honor of Robert Lemire. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's an honor and a pleasure to bring this motion forward for Robert Lemire, a very loving and dedicated husband, father, grandfather, served this country with pride and distinction during the Second World War. He served this country in the European theater, was seriously wounded in his legs, but never ever complained. Never once did he complain about those wounds. Recipient of the Purple Heart, not only was he a hero representing this country, but he was a hero in the eyes of many other people, especially his family and his fellow parishioners at St. Margaret's Church. The family is extremely honored for this dedication. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call?
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, that matter is approved. The next item is a vote authorizing the city manager to apply for, to accept, and expend a self-help grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Executive Office of Environmental Affairs, the Division of Conservation and Recreation, for the purpose of renovations to Shed Park in the city of Lowell. This vote goes on for a page and a half. Is there a motion to waive the full reading by
So
Councilor
moved.
Broderick, seconded by Councilor Elliott? All those in favor of waiving the full reading, say aye. Any opposed? The full reading is waived. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and expend a self-help grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Executive Office of Environmental Affairs, Division of Conservation and Recreation, for the purpose of renovations to Shed Park in the city of Lowell. What's the wish
Move
of
for
the council?
approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Roll call, please.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next item is an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Appendix A thereof entitled Lowell Zoning Ordinance by amending various sections. Be it hereby ordained by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows, that the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, hereinafter called the Code, adopted by the Council on April 26, 1988, as amended, is hereby further amended with respect to Appendix A thereof entitled Lowell Zoning Ordinances adopted December 7, 2004, amended as follows. See Attachment A, annexed hereto and made part hereof for the specific changes to the zoning ordinances. And the ordinance shall take effect upon passage in accordance with Section 1.7 of the Lowell zoning ordinance and the provisions of Chapter 43 and 40A of the general laws of Massachusetts. This matter is to be referred to the Planning Board for a report and recommendation. So moved by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Councilor Armin Mercia.
In our packet, there is a recommendation by the Planning and Development that this be also referred to the zoning subcommittee for discussion prior to the city council action. Is that something that somebody wants to entertain?
Sure.
It says here, refer to the planning board for a public hearing and report recommendation. Also, the city council public hearing August 22nd. But it also says the planning and development department would like to send this to the zoning subcommittee
For discussion.
Could we, I would like to amend it to refer this to the zoning subcommittee for discussion.
Right. So moved by Councilor Armin Mercier that this matter be referred to the Planning Board for report and recommendation. It also be referred to a public hearing on August 22nd and referred to the zoning subcommittee for discussion. So moved by Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Any further questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, please.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
We have reports. Any subcommittee reports? Councilor Donahue?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a meeting of the school building subcommittee last week, I believe. And this had to do with the 2 new school projects that are on the books or on the drawing board. namely the renovation of the old Butler School and the rebuilding of the Maury School. We've talked about this in the subcommittee as well as in the council as a whole. When these projects were approved some time ago, they are approved for 90% financing. However, almost 4 years has passed since the applications were submitted. Building costs have risen, and of course, we still haven't built the schools even now, and the gap will be much larger than what was originally planned or anticipated. That's just the way the school building program works. Since we applied for the monies on those two schools, the state has passed a new law requiring that cities hire a project manager with certain qualifications in order to oversee the projects. In these, and I'll try and make this as succinct as I can, the school department went out to bid for this project manager. They had several responses. There's one in particular that they are recommending. They recommended it to the subcommittee, and they're actually looking to the council to confirm or adopt their recommendation. The project manager that they selected after much consideration is Watermark. They're actually a local company located in the Boot Mills. They did get approval from the state to do this type of work. They've done other projects, municipal or public construction in the past, and the committee or the school department felt they were the most qualified. Normally, this approval is given by the team, which consists of the manager, the mayor, and the superintendent. But given the nature of the projects, namely a very difficult reconstruction, rebuild of the old Butler School and the Maury, which is also going to be a complicated construction, trying to build a school next to a school, it was requested that this information be brought early on to the council and that the council take a vote on it. I will point out that in the budget that was done several years ago by the architect, monies for this purpose, a project manager, was budgeted of some $500,000. This bid, however, which includes working with the architect in terms of going over the plans before they go out to bid, as well as allocating monies for each of the schools, if that all transpired, the cost could be $900,000 rather than the budgeted $500,000. This is all reimbursable monies, but reimbursable up to the point that the state had originally approved. Actually, the new requirement is a good one for these kind of projects. It means that there is a separate look-see on behalf of the city in terms of cost estimating right from the beginning, trying to take out expensive aspects to a project. For example, an architect may think that an elaborate design with fancy windows and so forth would make a wonderful school and also increase his or her fee because it's based on the overall percentage. This particular company, Watermark, would be looking out for our best interests, scaling down the project before it goes out to bid. And so it could be money well spent, even though it may exceed the original monies budgeted in the proposal and awarded by the state several years ago. After hearing all of the presentation concerning the bids, concerning the companies, the unanimous support of the subcommittee was to adopt the recommendation, which it is my understanding was being offered from the team, namely the manager, the mayor, and the superintendent. And so that's by way of a report. There is a request that the council take a vote to approve the project manager so that they can go forward quickly. Part of the problem is they, meaning the school department, would like to go out, in the city, would like to go out as quickly as possible to determine whether or not we can actually afford to do both of these projects. It might be that we can't, and in which case we may have to forego some of the money that was originally awarded by the state. But we have to know in terms of the bid documents, get those prepared. There's cost estimates that construction costs are rising as we speak, and so their hope and desire would be to go out to bid by November and have the bids open by the end of year, so we have a much better idea whether or not we can actually afford to do both schools or not. In the event we don't do both schools, then, as I stated, the original $900,000 fee, which, by the way, would be a flat fee, having nothing to do with what the costs were, and so there's no incentive to raise the cost like there sometimes is with an architect. Then, if we didn't do both, the $300,000 fee would apply to, in terms of the design and bid documents for both schools, and then $300,000 to oversee the construction of each school. So if we didn't do both, then the city would be on the hook for $600,000. But again, the idea and the intent is that this particular company would, in the long run, save the city an awful lot of money by looking out for the city's interests even before we go out to bid. So that's the report and recommendation of the subcommittee, asking that the council vote in favor of approving Watermark as the project manager for both the Butler and Morey schools.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I serve on that subcommittee, and I recommend to my colleagues to support this proposal. It's money well spent, and one of the schools is well over 100 years old, and once the contractor starts renovating that building, God only knows what they will find. So I support a professional management team to oversee the construction of the Morey School, and as Councilor Donohue indicated, if there's enough money in the budget to support the Butler School, that management team will also oversee that. Those figures that were given to us were almost a year old now, so those construction costs I know are going to be much higher than they were a year ago. So, but I ask my colleagues to support this. It's money well spent, and a professional management team to oversee the two schools.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also serve on that subcommittee, and I'm going to support it as well. I think what this does, in contrast to other projects that we have done in the past, is that we're going to have a review prior to any construction, and an independent review. This firm that we're going to hire is not based on the total cost of the project that Chairman Donohue alluded to. Architects get paid on the total cost of a construction contract, so some of the frills that might have been included in the past may or could be eliminated right out the forefront. So, and secondly, the state requires that we do this. The mayor indicated at the meeting that the figure may be high because we can either go one of two routes. What we did in the past, the city hires someone that is on staff with support to process all the documents and have someone on site, or there are a certain number of employees in that bid that have to be on site reviewing all the documents. So this is the most cost-effective way to do it, I believe. So I'm going to support it, and we're going to have it's an independent review by engineers prior to anything being done. So we very well can save some costs on the front end rather than just relying on architects' plans and fees associated with it. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? So a motion to adopt the report of the subcommittee and the recommendations in that report by Councilor Donohue, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. Roll call, please.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donohue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Are there any additional subcommittee reports? Okay, why don't we move to the public hearings? I think it's 7 o'clock now. The first public hearing is an ordinance creating new positions, deleting and abolishing some positions, and establishing salaries of said new positions, and amending the compensation of certain employees, and other changes all consistent with and included in the City of Lowell budget for fiscal year 2007, passed by the City Council on June 26, 2006. Anybody here wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anybody in favor? Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition to this ordinance, that portion of the public hearing is closed. What's the wish of the council? Motion to approve by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. Roll call.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez.
Yes.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield.
Yes.
Counselor Donahue.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas, the ordinance is approved. The next item is a vote accepting the provisions of Section 1 and Section 2 of Chapter 157 of the Acts of 2005, which provides for additional amounts for retirees who are veterans and retire for accidental disability. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this portion of this ordinance? State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Jim Quayle. I'm 78 Jackson Avenue, Dracut. I'm one of the elected members of the Lowell Retirement Board. And as you know, what this bill does, it just corrects an injustice that was done to our city employees who are veterans, who happen to go off the job prior to their full length of time on the city because of an injury. It provides for $15 a year for every year's service for the veterans, with a maximum of $300 a year. Other veterans have been getting this right along. Now it's time for these people to get it. This was passed back in November, and it came before the Retirement Board, and the Retirement Board unanimously passed it, and now we're asking that you people do the same. We have approximately 84 members of the retirement system in this right now, all city employees. Since we passed it in November, we've lost 4 people that would have gotten it. I just hope we can get this passed now so we don't lose any more before they get what's entitled to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of the ordinance?
Yes, my name is Joe Mahoney, elected member of the Lowell Retirement Board also. And I'm here this evening to ask you to accept the provisions of Chapter 157 Acts of 2005, Section 1 and 2. As Jimmy said, it was approved and they were taken care of through another chapter, and they went out on superannuation at 80%. The people who went out on accidental disability fell through the cracks and they weren't included. So what this bill does, it brings these people up to, not up to exactly what they're getting on superannuation, but it brings them up to the acceptance of being a veteran under Chapter 157, and I hope you will vote for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition, hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Move for approval.
There's a Council Rule 28 prohibits a vote on this matter tonight unless we act to suspend that rule, and then we could take the vote. So I think the first motion would be to suspend the rule to vote by Councilor Arman Mercia, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor of the motion to suspend the rule, say aye. Any opposed? So the rules are suspended so we can take up this matter. Councilor Donahue, did you have?
No, I was just going to support that. I know these folks were down here a few weeks ago, having them come down in the summer 2 times for the same vote. I certainly support suspending it.
Okay.
Plus,
roll. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Plus, I believe that the money's already budgeted, so we're all set.
Okay. Roll call.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez.
Yes.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield.
Yes.
Counselor Donahue.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Okay. The vote is approved. Thanks for coming back again.
Thank you from all the veterans.
Okay. The next item is a public hearing on a petition from MACOM at 100 Chelmsford Street requesting storage of 3,300 gallons of hydrogen. I believe Attorney Flood is here on behalf of MACOM.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Let me open the public hearing first. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this matter?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, James Flood, 81 Bridge Street, Lowell, representing MACOM, Inc. Of Lowell, and we're requesting a license to store up to 3,300 gallons of hydrogen gas in a new tank to be constructed at the Chelmsford Street facility. As I advised this council in February when I came in on the Pawtucket Boulevard location, they're in the process of closing their Burlington facility and moving their employees to Lowell. and because of the additional employees, there's more production necessary, which involves the use of more hydrogen. So at the present time, the hydrogen at that site is on travel trailers, and if this license is approved, they will remove those travel trailers and build a new facility with a separate tank for the storage of this hydrogen. And it's my understanding that it has been approved by the fire department, and I have representatives here from MACOM if you have any questions as to the facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this matter? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Councilor Elliott?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Roll call.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
The next public hearing is by Drake Petroleum, 378 Gorham Street, requesting 25,000 gallons of storage for a self-service gas station. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? In favor, just give us your name and address, please.
For the record, my name is Ron Fortune of Lee, Mass., representing Drake Petroleum. They currently have 18,000 gallons of underground storage in 2 5,000-gallon tanks and 1 8,000-gallon tank. We're raising and rebuilding the entire facility, changing the operation to a little convenience store of 1,500 square feet with 3 MPDs and installing 2 new underground tanks, one 10,000 and one 15, which gives an increase of 7,000 gallons for that facility. Again, it'll be a new facility, new branding, etc. And the reason for the raise and rebuild is the age of the tanks presently and their need for replacement.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? In favor of this petition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition, hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Councilor Rita Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't hear him say that it was cleared or inspected by the fire department, and I want to know that. Did he get approval from the fire department to store these extra tanks?
Yes, the application is signed by the
Fire department?
Captain Weber.
Captain
of the
Weber.
Fire prevention, yes,
So
as well as the self-serve.
They inspected it and approved of it?
Yes, the design, yes, it's not been installed.
But the design to
Yes.
hold that amount of, okay.
It's been approved, Councilor.
Sure.
It's here
All
with the
right.
petition.
I didn't hear him say it,
Okay.
and I wanted to know.
Okay, motion approved by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Arman Mercia. Roll call.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
The next public hearing is on the petition of Greener Landscaping of 123 Bolt Street, requesting storage for 25,000 gallons of gas and diesel fuel.
20?
Anyone wishing to speak in, we'll open the public hearing and hear from anybody wishing to speak in favor.
Jeremy McSorley. I'm the owner of 123 Bold Street. I'm applying for a permit for diesel, off-road diesel and on-road diesel, above-ground storage.
Okay, thank you. And yours has been approved by the fire department as well. I see that
Yes.
application is signed off by the fire chief in the petition. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak?
20,000 gallons, Mr. Mayor?
25,000.
20,000.
Oh, 20.
The agenda says 20.
Okay, yeah. It's 20,000 on the license. Our petition is incorrect, so. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition, that portion of the public hearing is closed. To the wish of the council.
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. Roll call, please.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor.
I believe that concludes the public hearings. Councilor Armand Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before we proceed with the remaining part of the agenda, it's my understanding that the manager would like to address the council this evening, and prior to let him do that, I'm sure some of my colleagues would want to say a few things to and about the manager. So if there are no objections, I would like to have you recognize councils who want to say something and then recognize the manager in order for him to address the council.
All right. Any objection from anyone? Okay. Do you want to lead off, Councilor? Or
I think Councilor Caulfield wants to lead off. He's always a lead-off batter.
Okay. All right. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And occasionally I get a base hit too, so. How would I describe Manager John Cox? Leadership, vision, dedication, compassion, caring. The renaissance of any urban city such as Lowell doesn't happen with a few people. It's usually an organization of a group of people who roll up their sleeves and come up with a dream like the Tsongas Arena in 1994. The dream was to build a multi-purpose facility. The original cost was $45 million. Through many debates, many subcommittee meetings, we reduced that cost from $45 million to $28 million. But there was still a large obstacle to hurdle: the funding. Who do you turn to for the funding? You turn to Beacon Hill. State Representative John Cox came through with $20 million through his leadership, through the legislature, Speaker of the House Finneran, Senate President Bolger. That's how the Tsongas Arena was built. Then the LaLasha Ballpark, once again, a dream. And how did that get built? I believe State Representative John Cox brought Speaker of the House Tom Finneran to Lowell. Mr. Speaker, we'd like to build a ballpark. It was that easy. The ballpark was built. Bold initiatives. The senior center was a dream in the eyes of many people, especially our seniors. And many of us who sit here and represent constituents in the city can recall serving dinners at the old Smith Baker Center. Then after the dinners were served, you would have to fold the tables in order for the seniors to have a dance. It was a dream 6 years ago, but the Senior Center just celebrated its second anniversary on Broadway Street. An old city barn. People said, you could never do that. It's a beacon for senior centers in the region. The Winterfest, there were some people said, oh, it was okay. It was a way to get out of the house. But Manager Cox saw it a way for many people, many Lowellians, who probably couldn't afford to go to Foxwoods or any other lavish recreation area, but they came down to Lowell in February and enjoyed themselves for little or no expense. And many of us enjoyed the dog sled races the first year. And we all applauded those who participated in the dog sled races for years to come, and the chowder contests. Colley Stadium. It was a dream 6 years ago. It It was talked about for years. When are we going to address the conditions of the turf at Colley Stadium? Has anyone been out there lately? Lowell High School is the envy of high schools in the region. Bill Samaras told me they're going to conduct and entertain Super Bowl games there. Lush, like watching national football on TV. The best bond rating in the history of the city. Oh, there was a debate a few weeks ago. The bond rating had slipped. The best bond rating since 1986. 20 years. The best bond rating. That didn't happen overnight. The additions to the Joseph Pine and the Pawtuckaville Memorial Schools. And yes, how can we forget the Stockloza School? There were some who wouldn't let us forget about it. The finest school the city has ever built. Concord, Wellesley, Brookline, Lincoln, or Newton would be proud to have it in their community. And the children who attend the Stockloza School from Lowell have indicated it's the nicest school they've ever seen. The proposed $100 million courthouse for Lowell. How many people in this chamber realize how that happened? How many calls did Manager Cox make to Beacon Hill for the $100 million courthouse? That happens with leadership and vision. The Acre neighborhood, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, if anyone can remember the streets, the potholes, the dilapidated buildings, the conditions, look at it now. Everyone would have to agree it's a finer neighborhood than it was 6 years ago. The Hamilton Canal, the jam plant, it's underway. The new garage is planned, and I think that plan, that Hamilton Canal, will be one of the best in the city of Lowell. John, you wear many, many, many hats. And you wear your heart on your sleeve. And I know any neighborhood you visit, any street or avenue, you will walk. You will be greeted with a smile and a warm hello. Best wishes and thank you for your leadership, your vision, your dedication that you have shown for our city over the past 6 years. God bless you, and God bless your family.
Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 6 years ago, I knew the name John Cox, but I didn't know you personally. I knew of you, I knew about you, but I didn't know you personally. When you put in, I knew that you had delivered much money to the city. You were not my representative. I did not live in your neighborhood, so I can honestly say, and I hate to tell you this, but I did not vote for you because you weren't in my district. But I will say that I heard a lot about you, but I had an open mind, as I try to do. And when I knew that you were one of the applicants, it didn't matter that you were one of the applicants. I didn't favor you any more than anybody else. I approached this with an open mind. And then it became difficult because there were other good candidates as well. but I didn't really know what to do, and sometimes we need the advice of people, and sometimes we rely on people that we take stock in, that we know that they know you better. I received tons of calls at that time from Tom Belgard, from Frank Muldoon, from Bernie Lemoyne, from Mark Briere, from Grady Mulligan, no less, and Susan Rourke. And they all asked me if I would consider you, and I really admired a lot of these people, and especially Mark Briere and Frank Muldoon and Tom Belgard, and I said to myself, gee, if they can talk about this man like this, and I respect them so much, I think I'll give you a chance. And I will honestly say that it was the best vote that I ever made. It was the greatest 6 years of being a city councilor for 11 years. I saw the environment change. I saw the atmosphere here at City Hall change. City employees were happy, and they were happy because there was a leader in the city that didn't look down on them, that treated them as their equal, that said hello. As busy as you were, you always took the time to say, how are you, how you doing? That to me is a remarkable person that you can relate one-on-one as their equal. I am thinking of how many years ago I asked if you would please take the senior center off the back burner and please put it on the front burner, and you said that you would do that. You gave me your word. You made a promise to me that you would do that, and I don't have to say any more because all you have to do is look on Broadway Street and you see a state-of-the-art facility, and I'm not giving you credit for that alone. That is due to you listening to your lovely mother, Arlene. There's no doubt about that. And having said that, I want to say that, Mr. Manager, if you remember nothing else about today and you think you did nothing in 6 years, please know that you made your mother very, very proud of you. Absolutely, you certainly did, as you have made me. I'm thinking, yes. And I'm thinking of an example that I can say that you showed leadership, and a boyhood friend and neighbor from Centerville came to you from Drake, a lot grown up now, a lot older, said to you, Mr. Manager, could I just talk to you about the World Men's Curling and how we would like to get it down at the Songus Arena, because that is a state-of-the-art facility and I'd like to see a world-class event take place there. You could have said, you're from Drake, what do I owe you? I don't know that I can do that. Or you could have hemmed and hawed and you didn't. You said, we can make that happen, absolutely. You got on the phone, you called Deb Belanger, and between the two of you and a team of people got together, and it happened. It happened so much so through your leadership that you led this city with class, with dignity, and such a caring atmosphere, and put out the red carpet for them, that the man that was the honorary chairperson, irregardless of his name, came forward and gave a check for $10,000 to the flood relief victims because he loved this city and the respect and treatment that he got while he was here. I could go on, but let me tell you, I admire you so much. I'm going to miss you tremendously. It's not going to be the same. I'm going to welcome the new manager, try very hard, but he's got big shoes to fill. I kid you not. I'm just sorry to see you go. I know you're not going too far, but I'll miss seeing you in this seat because you were such a credit to this city that I don't even know that who it could be that could say to the unions, you know, we're having a very hard time. Money is tight coming into the city. Could you do without a raise until I can get you the money? But I can't get it this year. I don't think I can get it next year. Do you think you can forego your raise? And they did. That's a tremendous individual that has a rapport and respect for your people that would do that. You know, I think the world of that. That's remarkable. And I want to save something for Armin, but I will miss you so much. I respect you. You're a classy man. You have a wonderful family, and a family that is very, very proud of your 6 years in here with me and my colleagues, as well as your state representative role. I truly wish you the best of luck. I know that whatever you do in life, you'll make more money than you did here. God bless you.
Councilor Armin Mercy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, in 1966, I was catapulted into public service. The undying support of a city councilor called John E. Cox, the manager's father. It was a controversial vote. It was 5-4. It was a long time ago, but I never forgot it and never will. After that vote was taken, City Councilor John E. Cox asked me for one thing and one thing only: make me proud of that vote. And many years later, through John's mother, it was conveyed to me before John E. Cox died. He made it abundantly clear how proud he was of that vote. 6 years ago, I voted for John Cox without any equivocation whatsoever. I felt that he was the man for the job. And it was a controversial vote in the sense that he got it on a 5-4 vote, similar to what I had got in mind many years before that. After that vote, I asked John Cox for only one thing: make me proud of that vote. And I can stand here tonight to tell you unequivocally, it was one of the best votes I've ever taken, and he indeed, Mr. Manager, have made me very, very proud of that vote. And I want to thank you for your service to this city. On July 31st, the Lowell Sun is going to do a supplement in their edition that's going to catalog all of the accomplishments of our city manager when he was also a state rep. And I think once people read that, they're going to feel like I do. They're going to be very proud that he passed this way as a public service. I want to wish you and your family the very best, John. But I also want you to bear in mind for the future as you pursue other endeavors. You're only 51 years old, and I think there's still a lot of public service in you. And I hope that you don't dismiss this out of hand. Good luck, and thank you very much for making me very proud of that vote.
Anyone else? Councilor Milanazzo, you come up for a minute?
Mayor Martin.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, I too want to thank you for your service here in the city. I think, certainly it's no secret we've had our differences in recent months, but I don't think you stay in this job for 6 years without accomplishing an awful lot of good, and I think you've done a lot of good in your tenure here, and I don't think that should go unacknowledged. In spite of the way this is ending, I think there were certainly very good things you did here in the city, and I wanted to, at least for myself, personally thank you for your work here. I think in particular, your work in 2003, when we faced those 9 seat cuts and devastating losses in state aid, to manage the city through that financial crisis, which is not something I would have thought was in your skill set when you came into the job. I thought was remarkable. I think the city made it through that period of time very well, and I think a lot of that was due to your efforts. So I want to thank you for that. I think a lot of the other things have been remarked upon here, but certainly the Winterfest and some of these other things that were ideas originating in your office and implemented by you was certainly credit-worthy, and I think the city is better because of it. I think the city is better because of your service. I do think it's time for a change in this job, and I know we're never going to agree on that, but I do think that the good work you did here should be commented on and remarked upon. And so I want to thanks for your service. Wish you well, and best to your family.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Could we recognize the manager at this point?
Yes, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'm not 51 till Thursday.
Your father and I were in the insurance business. It's closest age to your birthday.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors, ladies and gentlemen. Over the last couple of months, several months, I guess, wherever I go in this city, one question has remained constant. What are you going to do on Tuesday nights? I'm sure we'll find things to do with my family and friends, but I have enjoyed deeply the last 6 years, the last 6 years of Tuesday nights. Let me begin by thanking people that are here and dear to me. First, my mother and my father. As Armand pointed out, 40 years ago, my father served in this chamber. I want to thank him and both he and my mother, for instilling in my family a sense of public life. And I know I speak for the rest of my family when I talk about it. Something must have stuck, because both myself and my brother Bobby, who's the selectman in Drake, have taken a similar path. I want to thank my mother for all her love and support, always my biggest supporter. Again, I want to thank my brother Bobby, my sisters Colleen, Karen, and Gail, my brother-in-laws Jack and Jimmy, my nieces and nephews who are here and not here. I want to thank Colleen's family for all their support, Kathy and Erin and Jay, and brother and sister-in-laws, nieces and nephews on that side. I want to thank Jim and Mary Ann McMahon for all their support. And on behalf of everyone, I want to thank everybody in this city for the kind words and wishes they put out to Jimmy McMahon with his recent situation in Texas. I'm happy to report that he'll be home tomorrow. 6 years and 11 days ago, I was sworn in this very chamber. And I forgot to introduce Colleen and Courtney. It took them 6 years and 9 days to get over it. Courtney's in Florida tonight, but I want to thank her and Colleen for always unwavering love and support, constant support that the both of them have given me has been unbelievable. I'm very, very lucky. To my many friends who are here and not here, I want you to know that I'm very humbled by your support, by your continued friendship. It means the world to me. To my office, the office staff, to Dawn and Brenda and Kerry, you've always made this office a happy place to be. I think the world of all of you, and I know you know that. And to Jimmy and TJ, the two guys that I've spent many, many Tuesday nights with over the last few years. I think both of you, I know both of you know how much I think of you, how much I respect you, and how much I love both of you and three girls in my office. To to all the department heads, here in the city, you're hardworking, you're loyal, you're committed, and all of you know what I think of you. I'll be talking to you tomorrow, but you people have really, you are the experts who make the city run. You've always made me and this administration look good, and I can't thank you for all of that. To the city employees, dedication, the commitment you show to this city day in and day out, it's been my honor to have worked with you. And I really am proud to live in a city where all these city workers work. You've done a fabulous job. You've been part of the solution, and I will never, ever forget that. I want to thank Mayor Martin for his kind words. I want to thank three very special people: Armand and Annette and your family, Rita and Ralph and your family, and Bud and Diane and your family. Your continued support, your friendship, your leadership, your abilities will never be forgotten by me, my family, or many, many people in this city. I also want to thank the City Council for giving me the opportunity and the honor to have served here. I spoke with Bernie Lynch last week, and I've known Bernie for a long time. I congratulated Bernie. And I know that Bernie brings many, many talents to this job, many skills to this job that are needed. And I told Bernie, I wish him nothing but the best. I live here, I'm not leaving here, and I'm sure that he can be and I hope will be very, very successful. You know, over the last 6 years, I've never had a day where I said, why did I apply for this job? Why did I come to City Hall? I've never felt that way. I've never said that. Obviously, I'm sure other people in the city have said that, but I have not. I have considered it to be an honor to be able to serve in this city that I love, my city, the city I was born in, the city I live in. And I have tried my level best to do the best job possible in whatever tasks or challenges were ahead of us. And as we leave, I'm very proud of the administration. I'm proud of the work that we have done, the role we have played in the rebirth, the revitalization, and now the history of this great city that and I know all of you, love so much. It's a place of history. It's a place of diversity. It's a place of special things and so many special people. It's a place of partnerships. But most of all, this is a place of very special spirit. It's a spirit I have felt, I have seen, and I know all of you have. It's what makes this place different. It's what makes this city great. In a majority of my adult life, I've worked hard to try to make this a better place, a more special place to live. And as I begin my new chapter in my life, I remain committed to continue to make this city, my home and your home, a continued success. Call me an optimist, you can call me a cheerleader for the city, you can call me a homer for the city. But I believe that by everyone staying involved, that everyone pulling together in the same direction, the best is definitely yet to come for this grand old dame that we call the city of Lowell. Thank you for this honor, and God bless you all. Thank you and good night.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to suggest that the manager be excused for the rest of the meeting. and that we proceed after a 2 or 3 minute recess to conclude our agenda, if there are no objections.
Okay, no objections. We'll just stand in recess for a few minutes.
No.
Okay,
I don't have a problem with it, just leave my Our Father in there. I'm not taking it out, they know that. I won't support it otherwise.
But is that all the meeting for? Oh, I got some other stuff.
well, there's others, you could bring
Oh,
up other things.
okay, yeah, I got some other stuff.
Okay, why don't we reconvene the meeting? Roll call, please.
Mayor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Yeah.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milonazo.
Here.
Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
9 present.
9 present. I believe the next item on the agenda is under reports. There is a report from the wire inspector from Verizon's request to place 40 feet of conduit in Bedford Ave. Is there a motion to accept and adopt the report and accompanying
So moved.
orders
Yes.
by Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those orders are adopted. Under petitions, we have a petition from Thompson Realty Trust requesting storage of 800 gallons of Class 1A flammable materials. This matter is to be referred to a public hearing on August 8th. So moved by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is so referred to a public hearing on August 8th. There are 2 petitions, one from Attorney James Flood concerning 71 Windward, and one from residents of Lincoln Parkway and Conoil Street requesting abandonment of a street. Both of these items, I believe, to be referred to the city manager. So moved by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Those matters are referred to the city manager. And finally, a petition from Keyspan Energy requesting a 160-foot gas main in Eddy Street. This matter is also to be referred to a public hearing on August 8th. So moved by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to a public hearing on August 8th. I believe that concludes that portion of the agenda, which brings us to the motions. First motion is by Councilor Donahue, request the manager have LTC televised license commission hearings, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some months ago, through the motion of Councilor Ramirez, we unanimously had supported televising, and we spoke about the ZBA and the planning board hearings on the idea that it gives the public access to information, things happening in the city that they wouldn't otherwise have. And long before that, we used to televise the License Commission hearings. They don't happen on a Monday evening or a Tuesday evening, but during the weekend afternoon. But we were televising them for a period of time. How long, I don't know. Somehow, that kind of fell off the radar screen. And when Councilor Ramirez brought up his motion, it didn't even occur to me that we had stopped televising the licensing commission meetings. But in light of recent developments and issues that have come up, I think it's of critical importance, if not one of the more important boards that should be televised. A couple of weeks ago, actually, I had filed a motion asking that the police and the Public Safety Subcommittee go out and meet with neighborhoods. Ooh. We need to fix the windows here too. Meet with the neighborhoods that were adversely affected or directly affected by recent homicides. And to that end, there had been a meeting planned by the Chief of Police and his some of his command staff with a group in Centerville and in the Lower Highlands. I attended those meetings, as did some of my colleagues, Councilor Rita Mercier, Councilor Caulfield, and in particular with regard to the murder that occurred in Centerville. What struck me was the conversation, the information coming from the neighborhood about the bar where the murder happened, or right outside. And I will say that the owners of the bar were present at that meeting, indicating a will to work with the police, work with the neighborhood. They were equally upset about a murder happening in connection or in front of their establishment, involving people who had been at their establishment for the evening. And I'm not discussing the facts of that specific incident because I personally don't know them, but I do know what the neighborhood talked about that night. And they were very, very upset about issues concerning that bar before this owner took over, I presume, based on his comments, about over-serving people, fights, people leaving at 2 o'clock in the morning, breaking bottles, causing havoc throughout the neighborhood. And I believe if we look at some of the other homicides that have occurred, some of the individuals were at bars before that. And all I'm saying is that in the nature of the business, oftentimes the police present a case to the License Commission, present a case asking them to take action against a particular establishment. And I'm not picking on bars, they license other things besides bars. But I think this is an area that is becoming very important in terms of public safety in the city. And sometimes, despite the best plan or presentation by the police, those recommendations are not adopted or followed, and the commissioners have the prerogative to do what they will. But I think that it is important that the public know exactly what's happening, because we do get calls, and I think in this instance, and I just use it by way of an example, the neighborhood would like to know, as a result of complaints that are made, is anything done? Does anybody bring these things to the attention of the proper authorities? And those are questions that the public asks. And so I really think it's time, LTC, there are budget issues and so forth, but we really and truly need to televise these meetings. As I said, as much, their importance is as important, if not more important, than some of the other boards of the city. And I think, again, opening government, which was the reason, and in terms of televising the other boards, I think it's really, really important here, and I think it's also goes beyond just, it's not a question of people just being nosy, wanting to know what's happened. I think it's critical to community policing. And one of the, without segueing off too much, one of the things that's abundantly clear is that we have to step up our efforts at community policing again. We had a tremendous decrease in crime here back several years ago, and we're backsliding. We've had 8 murders in this city year to date, and that's too many. And though there's not any particular pattern, though there's not any particular connection to gang per se in terms of them, what is important is if this is a tool, if this is something that the public can know, can help, can assist the police in, then we should be using it, and all of us should be working together. So I think it's just more information that plays into what are some critical, very critical hurdles that this city is facing right now. So that's a long-winded way of trying to make the plea, but I really think we have to televise these meetings, and I think we have to know what's happening, what action's been taken. If nothing's been taken, then we should know that too. And I think the televising it helps inform all of us.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was kind of happy to see this motion on the agenda this evening because I was asked to file a motion, and I told the person I would file it for the next meeting. So I'm very happy that Councilor Donohue has taken the initiative to bring this forward. We have many taverns, pubs, bar rooms, lounges in our city. Many of them are run by very responsible business people. There are some that are run with irresponsible people. And as Councilor Donohue indicated, we did tour some of the neighborhoods in the city a couple weeks ago. And Walter Bayless, the chairman of the License Commission, told me that when it was televised, it was the most watched TV program on a Thursday afternoon, being watched by people who own pubs, bar rooms, and lounges. And let it be known, we want responsible people running a good, clean business. But also let it be known those people who are irresponsible, watch the commission meeting and let it be known that the License Commission are going to run a tight ship. And that's what has to happen in the city. And some of the crimes we've had in the city have been associated with drinking, et cetera. I don't want to get into that, but the License Commission, that should be televised, is probably the most important commission meeting or subcommittee meeting that could be televised, to get it out into the airways, get it into the people's homes, let them know what they're doing to curb some of the problems with the alcohol. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to support the motion to televise these meetings. I agree it's equally important to, again, bring government into the homes of those people that want to watch it and those that are affected by it. I would like also, if there's no objection to the maker of the motion, just to amend it to find out, is there a budget issue with televising, these televising these meetings? And if there is, I think there are plenty of volunteers that we can get to cover these meetings. So I hope it's not a problem, because this is very important, and subscribers pay a fee to access these channels. And the channels are useless if they're blank and there's just, a blue screen. So if there's no objection, I'd like to know what the budget, if there are any budget, issues as it relates to getting, and Mr. Mayor, I see the solicitor has his hand up, but I want to make sure that whatever we need to cover planning board, ZBA, council, school committee, license commission, that there are people there to, either volunteer, if we have to pay them, come out of a budget. So with that, Mr. Solicitor.
Mr. Solicitor, you have a...
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just to address some of your concerns, as you know, in addition to the fee that subscribers pay for their subscription to Comcast, there is included in that the public access charge of 5%. Of that 5%, 3% goes to Lowell Telecommunications Corporation to cover such things as municipal meetings and public access, as well as educational programs. 1% remains with the city for its, and we pay for example, televising, to assist in the cost of televising these meetings of the council and other boards. And then the other 1% goes to the schools to allow them to put on their own programming for educational purposes. So there is funding, and it shouldn't come out of the budget. It should, because that 5% has to be used for cable-related purposes, and this certainly is a cable-related purpose. So I'm sure that we will find it within that cable budget to cover the costs.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I know Council Rita Mercier is our representative, so maybe at the next board meeting, she could get a copy of the budget and how much it costs to run these, run these meetings, or to pay somebody, and just make sure that, that we are expanding our coverage, and maybe we have to pay someone a little bit more to come and cover these meetings, but I think it's very important, so.
Okay,
if there's no objection to the maker.
Councilor Armin Mercier?
I would just like chime in that if there is a budgetary problem, then their priorities are mixed up. Because I watched that channel, and there's some stuff there that shouldn't even be there. It has no bearing at all to the interests of the people who are paying that fee. So it's a question of priorities, and I think that the meetings that we're talking about should be a priority by the LTC, and I would hope that Councilor Rita Mercier would bring that message back to.
Councilor Rita Mercier?
If I could respond to your taste when you're watching LTC or whatever, there's some things probably that I don't like. Probably there's a hard rock program that I probably don't care about hard rock, but it's called the First Amendment, freedom of expression, and they have a right to do that as long as they're a member and they know how to run the equipment. They have a time slot and they have the right to do that. Now, I understand where you're coming from, but I can't bring the message back and say I don't like X number of programs on there.
No, I think they just should, if I may, to respond, I just think they should establish a priority of what is important without taking away from anybody's rights. And I don't know quite how all that works. I don't know who gets the authorization to put a program on that probably should not be in lieu of the licenses, I mean, the meetings. So again, just a question of taking a look at priorities without stopping anybody.
Mr.
Anyways.
Solicitor, we talking the 3%, does that fund both channels? Does LTC run Channel 10, and I think Channel 8 is the access channel, one is the municipal channel?
Right, there are three access channels
22
now.
as well.
8, 10, and 95. The latter being the latest one that's been added. But as I said, 3% goes to LTC for public, educational, and governmental programming. So we certainly come within the governmental programming part. In addition, we contract with our 1%, we contract with LTC, with the city's 1%, to provide municipal programming such as covering these hearings, this council hearing, and as well as other hearings. So clearly, there's enough money to cover this, and I shouldn't think that it would have to come out of our budget. We can certainly work within that 4% that I talked about.
Okay. Any objection to the amendment to the motion? Okay. Councilor Caulfield?
Mr. Mayor, I suggest that we send a letter with this vote to the LTC suggesting that this is a priority and we would like to have these commission meetings televised. So if you want to make the letter strong, so be it. But I think this is very important to get these commission meetings televised. If we can't get these commission meetings televised, there's something wrong. There's really something wrong. And we should have it televised. It's very important. Very, very important.
All those in favor of the motion as amended, say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion is by Councilor Donahue. Manager report on a lighting plan for Christian Hill Reservoir, seconded by Councilor Armin Mercier. Councilor Donahue.
Thank you. This is something I know has come up here in the past, over the years. And I guess what I'm looking for is what happened to the plan from many years ago. In other words, when there was a plan to do work at the reservoir, put in tower and so forth, there were plans presented to the neighborhood for lighting and park and all kinds of things, and it never happened. And what's happened is it's becoming an area that, you know, kids go to, crime is happening, but it seems, at least as far as the neighbors knew, there were plans, there was money, it was going to happen, it was going to be, you know, something that people would love to have in their neighborhood. And instead, the work went into the necessary, you know, water improvements, and then nothing else happened. So I want to know what happened with the plan, what happened with the money for the plans. Can we look at that in terms of lighting? Can it be part of the water? You know, was there funding back then? Where did it go? Is it part of the water department rather than parks and so forth? But it's a crime area or potential crime area. It's a plague, and really when neighbors are promised something dozen or more years ago and it never happens, at the very least we got to find out why. I mean, what, you know, just kind of like people pulled up stakes, left town, and didn't do the things that were promised to the neighborhood. So that's the nature of the report. I understand that the new manager is going to have to do some digging on this, but I really think it's important. Let's find out, and let's find out if there's something that we can address because of this, and where did the funding go.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion is by Councilor Rita Mercier. The City Council requests the city manager have the city solicitor provide monetary breakdown of future managers' contract and benefits outside of what city employees receive, annuity, car, etc. Second by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but I want to know in terms of money how the breakdown is in regards to the total cost of the package that was awarded the future manager. I just So I'd like to just refer this motion to the solicitor's, city solicitor. And there was another question that I was going to ask in regards to the first contract that we received, which came by car from the police department the day before the actual vote on this contract. And it did say on the last page, approve as form, which it says on this same one, which means that this is a legal document. It also said, not negotiated by the law department. Having said that, the next day when we came to the city council meeting to make that specific vote for the contract, we were handed a new set of contracts. I took it that it was the same one. Actually, that wording was removed because it isn't on the one that everybody signed their signature on. So I just wanted the public to know that, because there was talk this morning that portion of that wording, verbiage, was on the last page of where everybody signed that said not negotiated by the law department. I don't know who caught that mistake, but it was removed, and I just wanted to say that for the record. But the motion more or less speaks for itself, and I would be willing to wait to get the answer on the total cost.
Thank you. Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With all due respect to my colleague to my right, I really view this as beating a dead horse, and I'm not supporting the motion. I really believe that on a 6-3 vote, we did support the contract as brought in 2 weeks ago, and in my opinion, it really does not need to be revisited or more fully explained. If my colleagues feel otherwise, so be it, but I'm not supporting the motion.
Thank you. Councilor Donahue?
Thank you. I don't see what the mystery is. And the contract was pretty clear. I don't know where, I mean, we never asked for how much is the car worth when Manager Cox or Manager Martin had it when I was here. I don't know why all of a sudden it's important what the car's worth. We never asked what their health insurance benefits are worth when Manager Cox or Manager Martin were here. We never asked what their retirement benefits were. I mean, this contract is pretty straightforward. It's $145 plus 10% put into a deferred compensation plan, and all the other benefits are the same as any other manager. I don't think there's anything mysterious. I don't think there's anything hidden. I guess I do view it as beating a dead horse. We had the contract. We read the contract. We had the opportunity to ask any questions of the solicitor. The solicitor was here that night. She explained parts of the contract that are consistent with the employee in terms of days off, vacation, et cetera, et cetera. There's nothing any different. I mean, I don't intend to support it because I don't think it's necessary. I think it's sending the wrong message. I think we have a new manager coming in. That's the way it is. It's pretty clear cut what the compensation is. Is it more than what Manager Cox made? Yes, it is. No one has said anything differently. And so I don't think there's any necessary reason to put the law department to further work to put into writing what they've already given us. Nor do I intend to send a message to a new manager coming in that we're going to question you right out of the box for a contract that we voted. Now, if you didn't vote on it, I understand, and that's just the way it goes. But there's nothing mysterious. As far as the language, I don't think there's any ambiguity in the language. I just don't see where the mystery is. It's true that we haven't quantified what the car's worth, but we have never done that. We have never quantified what the car or gasoline is worth. I don't recall anybody asking that when Manager Cox was hired. Anybody. I don't recall anybody ever asking that question when Manager Martin was hired, or any year since when we would do the review in terms of his raises, or either of them. We had an ordinance that would review it. Nobody ever said, well, wait a minute, we have these other benefits we pay. Those other benefits weren't part of Manager Cox's $130,000 salary. So to say he made $130,000, well, that's not true if you're going to include those other benefits. That's just the way it goes. So, I don't intend to support the motion. All of the information has been provided us. All of the information is public knowledge. All of the information is out there for public consumption. I do see that this is distinctly different in terms of questioning this manager versus any prior manager, and I don't intend to support it.
Councilor Rita Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, maybe you're right. I am beating a dead horse. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to get numbers. We supported a contract, and I don't know the breakdown of that. I didn't vote on a breakdown. I didn't vote for it anyway. I wouldn't. But when a councilor makes a motion that we support a $15,000 more from 145, and then a manager comes in with a 10% annuity, which comes to $14.5 thousand, that is a little suspicious to me. Like, it seems like they talked about that beforehand. So I'm asking, Mr. Mayor, did you at any point negotiate any portion of the contract with the law department? Did City Solicitor O'Connor come to you and ask your advice in any manner in regard to this contract?
I spoke to her about it, sure.
And well, what did she ask you about it?
Well, I'm not going to get into negotiations or
Well,
contract
that's what
discussions.
it seems like. The appearance seems like you did get into negotiations. That's why I'm asking you this question.
Point of order.
Yeah. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In response to that, Councilor Mercy, I believe the contract was negotiated and drawn up in accordance with the motion that I made at the day he was hired, and that was for the 145 plus up to $15,000 in additional benefits to be determined by the law department with the new manager, Bernie Lynch. That was the motion that was passed.
It was yours.
Yes, and I made that motion.
Which said 15,000 more if we so chose from 125 to 145.
No. It was $145,000 salary and $15,000 in additional benefits to be determined, because I didn't know, I didn't negotiate it, and I wasn't going to negotiate what he takes it as, deferred, car allowance.
So we went over that. You went over that when you say 15,000, because when you break it down, the 10% of 14.5 thousand plus the benefit of a car, the benefit of the insurance, the benefit of that well exceeds your motion.
The additional benefit, the only additional benefit that he receives, that Manager Cox, Manager Martin, and I don't know before that, received is the annuity. In my interpretation, my understanding, and Christine O'Connor was here the night we voted on it, explained it in detail, also got into the superintendent's contract, and that's where she got verbiage and drafted it in form that superintendent has. So it's not anything unusual for a professional manager to have in some type of deferred compensation or annuity in addition to a salary. That's why it was structured like that, and it was up to Mr. Lynch in the law department to negotiate and figure out the legal aspects and how to craft the contract, and it was up to us to read it and ask questions and vote on it, which we did. And I understand you didn't support it, but I think to go in and now and say that, the car is worth more, the health insurance, nobody's salary is based upon their health insurance in the city that I'm aware of. I think if we go to the budget and start reading, we're going to see that people are paid a salary and they also get benefits. It happens on the board, some of the boards as well. They get stipends and they're allowed to have benefits if they so choose. So I understand what you're asking, but we're going apples and oranges here. And the solicitor answered these questions. Really, I think the difference is the annuity, and if people, the deferred compensation. And
so then, why did you put a cap of 15,000 when the 10%? Did you know in advance he was going to ask for a 10% of the 145, which would have been just under the 15,000? Did you know that in advance?
No, my understanding was he was making the equivalent of $160,000 in Chelmsford. That was my understanding. I think it was in the newspaper. I'm not really sure. So I picked the number 160 and said, okay, we can do it up to 145, and then additional benefits that is in any professional manager's contract.
I made this motion so there would be no appearance of any, wrongdoing or any behind the scenes, and that's why I made the motion. As we can get an explanation, that's fine, if that's your reasoning for it.
I mean, that was essentially the motion I made that day, and I know things happen quickly, but my understanding, and he said it here in his interview, he was not coming here for less. So I know I jumped the gun, and some fellow councils were upset at me that day, but that was the purpose of me basically trying to get out there that, look, if we're going to vote for this man, we need to understand what it's going to take to bring him here. We're all going to be embarrassed. And that was the intent of the motion, and that's why I picked the number, because it was in my understanding, again, I don't know exactly what he makes, I don't know, but my understanding was he makes the equivalent of $160,000. Now, I don't know how he takes it there, and that's why I just said 145, because that's the ordinance, and then 15 in additional benefits to be determined.
Well, I needed an explanation. I think you did that.
Thank you.
Does that mean you would-
Counselor Armin Mercier?
Does that mean you were drawing the motion?
Did you want to talk on it?
Yeah, well,
Go ahead.
I think based on the explanation you're satisfied with, then you should withdraw it. But I was looking at the positive end of this. In other words, if there's rumors out there that this man's making 200 grand, 190, and nobody really knows, maybe a breakdown would set those rumors
That's
straight.
right.
But I don't think there was any Machiavellian plot behind this contract at all. I wasn't privy to what was going to happen. I understand that. I've been in this business long enough to understand that. It would have been foolish for me to think for 1 minute that a city solicitor could be negotiating on our behalf without getting input from us. I didn't give her any. She didn't ask me if she would have or to give us some. I think that there's been sufficient explanation, and I would suggest that the motion be withdrawn. Now that you're satisfied with the
Well, I just wanted the public to hear the discussion. That
Yeah,
was one
and-
way of
and
making
they-
that happen.
And they've heard
Mr.
it.
Mayor?
Counselor Caulfield.
Thank you. I think we aired this out, and I think we get it off our chest.
Right.
And why don't we just move on?
That's right.
Sure.
So, Counselor, you're withdrawing the motion?
I am. I wanted discussion on it. I think we did that, and that's what I wanted.
Okay. Motion's withdrawn. Next motion is by Counselor Rita Mercier, request the city manager have the proper department repair the Top Hill roadway at Andover Nesmith Street on the right side at traffic lights. Seconded by Counselor Broderick. Counselor Rita Mercier.
Yes, thank you. There are 5 of us that have to travel that way tonight after the council meeting, and I hope for my sake of this motion that the light is green so that you don't stop at the hill on a red light and then easily go through the intersection. I want you to have a green light so that I want you to go over those 6 little bumps in the road that make you feel like your car is gonna fall apart. Now picture that at 2 in the morning when tractor-trailer trucks go over there, and it's shaking the windows at the house on the corner, and people stay at that bed and breakfast, and this family lost residents and clients, customers in that home because of the fact that the noise just shook them out of bed. So I'm asking, I know that Councilor Milanazzo had a motion there some time ago to repair the street portion in front of like 361 Andover Street. This is on the same idea. This has 5 or 6 little hills which are like ribbed in the road like a washboard, and it's just unbearable. I have to hold things on my rearview mirror because they shake back and forth. We need to, like frost heaves must have came on the corner there. If we could have someone just cut that out and resurface it better. It's just a nightmare going up there. Thank you.
Counselor Donahue.
Thank you. I mean, I certainly support that, especially the one on 361 that's kind of near 257. But anyway, one of the things I'm not clear on is it a state highway? I mean, I know, when they did the cement, not lower Andover, but, I don't know, east, west, whatever. But if we can find out who's responsible to repair it, I mean, I know I've seen city trucks trying to fill holes out there and everything, but, I think there's an issue on 133 if it's state-owned and controlled versus city-owned and controlled. And some of these repairs are pretty major that we're talking about, so we should, I certainly support the motion. We should also find out who's really responsible for the money to get this thing done, because it's a mess. And it gets such tremendous traffic over it that it really has to be addressed.
Counselor Milanazzo.
In that vein, I'd be happy to contact the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, some representative of the council, city council on that board, so I can give them a call tomorrow and get a clarification.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. The next motion is by Counselor Rita Mercier. City Council requests the city manager contact Mass Electric National Grid to request a pole be moved in front of 407, 409 Beacon Street. Seconded by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a family that wants to put in a driveway, and if we could just send this request to John Upham, my constituents need to put the driveway in there. And they need a letter, an official request, because that's what they're waiting for.
Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion is by Councilor Armin Mercier. City Council requests the city manager have the law department draw the proper vote for a Veterans Square dedication to name the corner of Ellis and Waterford Streets for Norman Legue. Is that it?
Yeah,
Is that,
League.
is that pronounced correctly?
Yes.
Seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. Councilor Armin Mercier.
Speaks for itself. I'll have more to say when it comes back in the form of an ordinance.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion is by Councilor Milanazzo. Request the mayor appoint a city council rules subcommittee. Seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On May 11th, Councilor Rita Mercier and I attended a meeting of the Greater Lowell Interfaith Leadership Alliance, and they asked us to bring back to the City Council a request to establish a rules committee to discuss our opening prayer at City Council meetings. And both Councilor Rita Mercier and I agreed to do that with the understanding that we would not be giving up the Lord's Prayer as the opening prayer, but that we would certainly be willing to meet with and talk with the Greater Lowell Interfaith Leadership Alliance about ideas that they had regarding prayer. So that's what the motion's about, and I know the Councilor Armin Mercier, I believe, has other issues, as we all probably do, that they would like to see brought before the Rules Committee. So that's really the intent of the motion.
I didn't appoint this subcommittee in January when I appointed the others. I don't know why that was. Perhaps it was because it had never met in the prior term. So, but certainly be happy to appoint that committee. Anyone further? All in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. We have one unanswered, non-responsive motion. Councilor Rita Mercier requests the status to place 68 Wollaston Street on the demolition request, demolition list as requested, 62706. I do believe there's a communication in the packet about that.
Yes,
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did get a response in the packet on Friday, but I had already made the motion before I got the response in the packet. And Matt Coggins does tell me in the memo that this was placed on the demolition list, but I also want to know what is the timeline for the neighbors to see results with this property, which is in tax title for the past 3 years, and the owners owe the city, as of today, $11,034.21. I want to know how much longer are we going to wait for our money, or are we going to get off the dime and get results and create new tax revenue for the city? This is just only one example of one piece of property. They're owed $11,000. That's $11,000 that could be in our general fund. I know when my taxes are due, I have to pay my bills. I don't think they'd wait $11,000 worth before. Now, I don't know what the situation is, but it's a mess, and it's an eyesore for the neighborhood. I know that Councilor Caulfield talked about houses that were caught on fire and was a disgrace to the neighborhood. This is a disgrace to the neighborhood too, and it's in disrepair, and vandals go in it. Water was broken, the pipes were broken, water was all over the street, and so I just want something to be done. I know it's one thing to place it on a demolition list, but I want the neighborhood to see results of this, so that's why I didn't take it off, and that's why I elaborated on it a little bit further.
Okay. Anyone further on this? All those in favor of the motion? Councilor Broderick?
Yes, just briefly. If Councilor Rita Mercier would allow, maybe we could amend that to ask for a report through the manager's office from the I think it's Attorney McKenna, as to the status of that and other properties as well from the tax taking standpoint.
This gets a little complicated. The owner is in a nursing home. He's been in a nursing home now for 3 years, so there's a lot at play here.
Okay. Any objection to the amendment to the motion to also request a report on the timing? All those in favor of the motion as amended, say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. I know Councilor Elliott had a matter he brought to my attention. He wanted to request the suspension of the rules for, I believe, a crime problem in South Lowell. Any objection to taking up this matter under suspension of the rules? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the reason for the suspension is a rash of crimes that have been taking place in South Lowell over the last couple of months. And I have spoken to the chief of police, and I know Councilor Caulfield has spoken to Captain Demore, and as of this evening, there's been an additional police presence. But over the last 3 months in the South Lowell section of city, businesses, homeowners, car breaks, just, there's a long list. We already received an email from my mother-in-law who lives there and has been following it. The neighborhood group does meet, and I think it was mentioned earlier, community policing, getting back to community policing. But again, here's a section of the city where the second and third shift, there is limited, if not sometimes no police presence. House breaks, there was construction going on Acton Street, portable toilets are being dumped over, there's damages to planters, mailboxes, windows. The upholstery shop on Woburn Street has had his window broken 3 times. He's about to lose his insurance coverage because his insurance company is saying they're not going to pay for it again. Sykes the florist has had their windows smashed. Exxon, windows blown out. Can't count the number of cars that have been vandalized. The list goes on and on. So the one Coleman Monument had $9,000 of damage. Stones being knocked over, cost them $15,000 to put a fence in and pave the area. So I bring these to light. It's another section of the city that's experiencing, numerous crimes. The neighbors are getting frustrated, and quite frankly, they're fed up with this taking place. I don't blame them. I told them I would bring this forward. The police department they are aware of it, but it just can't persist. So I think that the neighborhood organization would like to meet with similar to meetings that are taking place in Centerville and in Lower Highlands, just to get a handle on this and get community policing back in motion and address these these issues, these crimes that are taking place in South Lowell. So. Thank you for allowing me to suspend the motion, suspend the rules. I didn't want to wait another couple of weeks before bringing this to light and letting the people in South Lowell that, we hear you, we're going to respond, and we need to continue to take action to get more police presence. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield, I think, on this item.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I requested more police presence in South Lowell. And yesterday I did contact Captain Demore. Captain Demore went out and met with residents. Also, Captain Kennedy was involved. There were 2 police cruisers in the South Lowell neighborhood. They are addressing an issue. They have leads on maybe someone who might be causing this vandalism, and they are addressing the crime problems. But once again, this is a neighborhood, a very nice neighborhood, South Lowell. It's almost like it's forgotten. It's passive. No one goes there. And the residents who called me, they asked me repeatedly, where are the police? They don't even see a cruiser. So I'd be looking forward to meeting with the residents in South Lowell and residents throughout the city. Because the police are there. We have 244 of them. The people, the taxpayers, the ones who pay the bills, want to know, where are they? And there is some person causing an immense amount of vandalism, very costly vandalism. Coleman Monument Works on Lawrence Street, Mr. Mayor. They had 9 or 10 granite tombstones ruined. That's not right. So, I'm looking forward to having a meeting if it's necessary. But the police did respond yesterday. They went out there and they talked to residents, and they are involved.
Thank you. Councilor Donahue? and
Thank you.
Councilor Broderick.
I certainly, I support the motion and doing anything and everything we can to get out there, but unfortunately, we don't have enough police officers. We simply don't. 244 minus the 20 or so that are out on injury, minus command staff, brings us down to about 180. Then you do the math and say 3 shifts, 7 days a week. Then you say, all right, they're on 4 days, they're off 2. All of a sudden, those numbers are far smaller than what one would think when you start looking at across a schedule for a 7-day period. That said, that's not to say that the police don't do a good job or won't do a good job at all. I think they've done an exemplary job. But we have to pay more attention to the neighborhoods and make certain that we're addressing these crime problems. So I agree 100% with what's been said here. Unfortunately, fortunately is what I should say. There are more police officers this year in the academy, 6 I believe that we're waiting for, that should be out by the end of the year, but we are still below where we should be. It happened for budget reasons or whatever over the past 5 years or so, but the fact is when we had 260 police officers, when we had a full complement of sworn police officers, crime went down 63% in the city of Lowell. That's not a coincidence. That's a direct correlation, in my opinion, to the number of officers and a reduction in crime. We have to strive to get back there so that we can adequately patrol every neighborhood all the time. And believe it or not, whether it's 16 officers or so, it does make a big difference. And I know there's been efforts, everybody's worked trying to get police officers off the 111F, the injured roll and so forth, but you know what? It's the nature of the job. Police officers are going to get hurt. There's going to be people out, and that's the way it goes. So, I think the neighborhoods have to know we're going to do every single thing we can, but we I think, as a policy body, have to bite the bullet. No, I won't say that. We have to take responsibility and put our money where our mouth is when it comes time to adequately fund enough police protection for the city this size.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with everything that's been said. I would just like to add that I think that the motion is an excellent motion, but I don't think we should limit it just to South Lowell, the neighborhood group. I think we should ask through the manager to the police chief to initiate contact to all the neighborhood groups, Highlands, Belvedere, Pawtuckaville, everywhere, to reach out. If he's going to come in with some type of plan as to what we're going to do in the future, more police officers, community policing, the interdepartmental enforcements. I think we need to reach out to the people that are living in the neighborhoods and get this information. And I think, we can start with South Lowell, but I think we ought to hit all the neighborhoods. We got Back Central. There's a number of neighborhoods that would probably have the same gripe, but maybe just haven't made it yet. And I think that, if maybe we could get the chief to make that initiation and report back to the Public Safety Subcommittee, I'd make that in the form of amended motion if that's acceptable.
Okay, so the motion is amended, as I understand it, is to have the police convene a meeting with the South Lowell group as it has in Centerville and the Lower Highlands, and then also to come back with a plan as to how to address similar things and similar meetings in the other neighborhoods as well. Is that?
Also initiate meetings with the other groups as well.
Okay. Any further discussion on this, Councilor Milanazzo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will certainly support that substitute motion, but it's unbelievable what was in the email that we received this evening, what is going on in South Lowell. I have a question, though, relative to the substation. Do we know whether or not the substation that was actually approved a couple of weeks ago on Lawrence Street is actually opened yet? Do we know if it's opened on Lawrence Street at this time? Not that it would actually, it sounds like if it has opened, it hasn't.
I don't know, Councilor,
okay.
but I know that location on Lawrence Street is a fair ways away from where
What's
these.
going on here? Okay.
Actually, Lawrence Street, starts on Church
Right.
and runs all the way
Right.
out to Boylston. So,
Right.
I don't know that it's open yet. It certainly would help, but I think more is needed than
In the immediate,
than
okay.
simply that. But
Okay.
we'll find out for the next
I
meeting.
believe there's a substation in South Lowell right at the gas station.
Okay.
It's It's a
At the
small one.
Exxon
but
station, right?
The
yeah.
Exxon station?
It's a small,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
it's probably not being manned somewhere.
Okay.
Councilor Rita Mercy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that the chief and I probably don't agree, but I personally think that we should revert back to the olden days when we had the police walking the beat. I know that we're limited on the police that we have now, but when I heard from Rodney's mother-in-law the devastation that went on there, it's a wonder how whoever did that wouldn't spend all that energy to make things better instead of to destroy. You know, today things are expensive, and it's a great neighborhood where people strive very diligently to keep their property nice and clean, and then when you wake up and you see the destruction of windows broken, and it's just horrible, and it puts a bad aura over a neighborhood that is trying so darn hard. And I certainly don't want these people in the neighborhood there to feel that they're the forgotten bunch. They pay taxes like everybody else. They work very hard to make this a great city, and yet this is what they're faced against. So I do support anything that we could do to help the people in that neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the motion as amended, say aye. Any opposed? That matter is approved. Motion to adjourn.
No,
Oh, no, I'm
pass.
sorry. Councilor Donahue.
Thank you. Just two quick things, Mr. Mayor. One is, I know the manager's been excused. Can the city clerk communicate any action that the manager's office should know, be it to Mr. Lynch? There are a number of things we took here, actions and votes tonight, that just so Mr. Lynch is aware of what's being asked. I hate to put it on your desk, Mr. Clerk, but could you communicate all those things to the new manager so that he can address them properly, and we don't look to see unanswered motions yeah. And then, Mr. Mayor, through you or the city clerk, the new manager is to be sworn in a week from yesterday, the 31st. Do we have a time, or will there be a meeting of the council to accomplish that, or do we know that yet?
I can tell you I did try and reach Mr. Lynch to discuss that today. I have talked to a few members of the council, but not all of you, certainly, by your question being posed. What I had suggested to Mr. Lynch was, perhaps a ceremony around noontime in the mayor's reception room where, he could be sworn and have an opportunity to make some remarks if he were. I don't know if he's comfortable with that, if he's available at that time, but that was...
Well, I think he has to be sworn in by noon.
So that's
by the ordinance or the statute of the vote.
12:01.
So 12:01.
So I was going to suggest that to him and try and reach him by phone
Okay,
tomorrow.
so we'll be notified.
But is that, we can open up the issue for discussion. I don't know if anybody has a preference.
Well, I guess he's going to have to be available because that was the
Okay.
deal under his contract. So,
Well, the alternative would be to have a meeting at 5 o'clock at night or something.
I guess I'll
but-
make a motion that we have a special meeting on Monday at noon to accomplish the swearing in if...
Okay, so motion to have a special meeting of the council Monday at noon.
Only for the purpose of swearing
For
in
the
the new
purpose of
manager.
swearing in the new city manager. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion is adopted. Councilor Broderick, then Councilor Coffey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think if we're going to have any type of reception afterwards, we probably ought to invite the department heads and maybe the school committee and school department heads as well. Just...
Okay. I'll arrange, we can arrange that through the clerk and my office.
I
We'll
mean,
take care of
I'm
that.
just throwing that out there. I know that sometimes some of the people feel overlooked, so maybe a good opportunity for him to meet people.
I would suggest that you do check with Mr. Lynch. He may not want to be introduced to the staff and to the school committee at that moment. He may have his own plans on how to meet with them, and, I would really suggest that you be guided.
Thank you. Obviously, this is all contingent upon whether he wants to do it or not.
Okay.
He may say, "Swear me in the closet," and I'm going to my office. I don't know.
Except he's got to get sworn in.
Okay. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before you adjourn, I'd like to put the spotlight and give some recognition to Walter Bayless and the committee who, through the efforts of Manager Cox, initiated Crime Stoppers. And because of that I hope I'm pronouncing it right, is that the title of it, Crime Stoppers? Because of that initiative, that criminal that was being returned from Florida, that person was identified through the Crime Stoppers, and they initiated that, and it really has paid dividends. So I think it'd be nice if we send a lot of thanks to the committee for their initiatives and their hard work, and it certainly has paid off. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Donahue.
Thank you. I certainly support those efforts and initiatives. I guess I want to make certain this matter never came before the council for budget or for transfer, and going forward, I just want to know, I want to make sure we're doing it the right way. So if money's being paid to people, we have to know that there was authority to do that. So can we get a report on the funding for Crime Stoppers? Whatever authorization properly should be done by the council, we should do it.
Okay. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? We stand adjourned.